Well, everyone, after so many years, I finally got my hands on the disc version of the PlayStation 5. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of compare it against the digital version of the PlayStation 5 in this specific year. Well, I guess we're already at the end of the year now, mostly because of the amount of differences we're going to be getting for the price tag, the availability, and so many other things. Because for now, although PlayStations and, Xboxes are becoming a little bit easier to kind of get in your hand and all that stuff, we're coming around to the holidays, and I can definitely tell you from the looks of it, we're still going to be getting massive wait times if you buy a, PlayStation 5, and they're still hard to get. So I will definitely tell you, if you're in the situation where you can get your hands on either one, or you're trying to decide which one you want to get, I will say, if you have the ability of going down that road, the PlayStation 5 with the disc is going to be giving you the best option in every single way possible. It's going to be giving you all the abilities that the standard PlayStation 5, the digital version has, but it's going to be giving you that disc model, which again, in my opinion, is worth the extra money to spend. Now, let me tell you how I got there. So first of all, the digital models, there's been digital models of so many consoles. I think this is the first digital console I can think of from at least the hard stay-at-home console. I know, Sony made the PlayStation P Go. I've talked about that console a lot on this channel, and since then they kind of learned their lesson. Actually, no, they never made a digital PlayStation 2 now that I think about it. But what I will tell you, in my opinion, is the PlayStation 5, for it having two different models here, puts it at a very interesting situation. Now, this is what I'll tell you about the digital model, right? The very big pro, at least in my opinion, and why I like that specific console, is the design. I think, in my opinion, the PlayStation 5 with the digital, without the disc, looks better than the disc model. If you're going to have it straight up, if you're going to have it, straight down, or whatever you're going to do, that is basically one of my favorite things about that console. It looks so clean. Now with that disc model, take it as you will, but I just am not a fan of that bump on the side, and I kind of do feel like Sony could have easily placed the disc, inside of the console somehow. Like they could have had it on the black portion of the top, or they could have even put it, how cool would it be if they embedded it in the stand, or somehow. If the stand was, not removable or whatever, but if the bottom was big enough to hold a disc or something along those lines, right? I feel like Sony could have made it to look a little bit better. But it's not a bad reason why you shouldn't get the disc model. Most of the time you're not even looking at it. You're going to just look at it one time, or one time to set it up. And sometimes it might even be in a drawer that's hidden, which I wouldn't recommend doing that at all. But if you're going to be getting the PlayStation 5 digital, or you're going to be getting the disc model, if you want the better looking console, from my opinion and a lot of other people's opinion out there too, then that disc model may not cut it for you. You may have to go for the digital one. So keep that in mind. However, I will say, the disc model of the PlayStation 5 still looks very good. Like, it's not an ugly looking console. So personally, if I'm going to be getting, a PlayStation 5, I'm going to be getting that disc model. Even though the PlayStation 5 digital one looks better, it's because of that feature ability of that disc slot. So without a doubt, that is a big thing to keep in mind. So in my opinion, that right there probably covers it up in one of the bigger differences. Now the price tag and the availability is another massive difference that we have to talk about. So the price tag of the standard digital PlayStation 5 is $399 brand new, if you can get it brand new. The resale market is crazy, as I mentioned, for so many years now. So again, that is probably one of the bigger things to keep in mind. Again, it's available by invitation from Amazon. So if you can get it on Sony's website, that might be even better. The disc model of the PlayStation 5 on Amazon is $499, and that's how it's basically available all over the place. And now this one on Amazon, again, is available by invitation. You can probably get an invite if you request an invitation, or you can go through and actually, get it via Sony or get it another way. Because the disc model of the PlayStation 5 is more expensive, you would think that the disc model may not be more in demand. It seems to me that the disc model is the most in-demand console from the PlayStation 5 series right now. So that is a pretty crazy thing. They're still selling for quite high prices in the resale market. So again, that might be something to keep in mind right there. But if you're wanting to go ahead and save the most amount of money, the digital one is probably the better way to go in this situation. Now, I'm going to explain it in a second why that logic may not even work the best, but if you're just looking for the PS5 console, well then that might be the better way to go in this specific example. If you're just trying to save the most amount of money, then, maybe you can go down this road and you can pretty much get a console like that at that specific situation. But those digital models are still being overpriced in the used market, but it's the disc models that are being sold usually for a little bit more, at least as far as I can tell. Now, in the availability standpoint, right, it looks to me that more digital models are being sold in the used market than the disc models. So I don't know how many digital and disc models that, Sony's making. Maybe they're purposely making less disc models. I'm not too sure. But when I'm looking through the resale market, when I'm looking on eBay and some other websites, I'm scrolling through there right now. I would say for every like 2 digital edition PlayStation 5s, there's like 1 disc model. So don't take that specific statistic to heart. It's just kind of like an assumption that I'm seeing. So that might be something to keep in mind. If you're wanting to get a disc model, it looks to me that, the resale price of that thing is around $700 to $750. And the resale value of a digital edition PlayStation 5 is about $650 to $700 still right now, almost 2 years later. And this is November 12th when I'm, recording this video, and all those listings are pretty much from November 12th, which is today. So these things are still being bought all the time, and they're still being sold all the time too. So you should be able to get your hands on some sort of PlayStation 5s. Now, I wanted to go ahead and talk about the actual price tag of owning these consoles throughout time. So this is kind of what these manufacturers want to do. They want to remove the disc slots on all the consoles because they basically don't really want to go ahead and, have people buying used games anymore, in my opinion. They want them to go ahead and buy, games from the stores so they can make a profit off it. Now, that is one big thing why I look at the PlayStation 5 disc model. And even though you're spending a little bit more money in the beginning with, you might be spending an extra $100 or $150 on it. In the long run, you might be able to go ahead and save yourself money depending on how many games you play. If you only play like certain games that are free to download, then it really doesn't matter. But if you're playing all these games that are going to be coming out and you have to buy the disc model for it, or if you have a back catalog of a ton of games that you've already played and you own the disc models of them, if they are compatible with your PlayStation 5, if you have that disc console, you can go ahead and just plug in that disc and then pretty much go from there. You can just play those games. On the digital model, you have no way of doing that. So that is kind of the situation you're in. Not only can you not play your back catalog of games, you can still play your digital ones. It's just you can't play your disc model games, which works better with the disc model. It's the only one that works. So in my opinion, that right there is another big, massive thing. But on top of that, if we're looking forward, let's say you don't have any games. Well, if you get the disc model, you can go ahead and buy used games in the used market. That is a big asset. Instead of spending, whatever, $70 or $60 for each game that comes out, you might be able to go in the used market and you might be able to buy that same game maybe a week or two later for maybe like, $40 or $50. Or if you're buying the PlayStation 5 now, you might be able to buy those older original PlayStation 5 games that came out during launch. And you can just go ahead and buy those games on that console too. And you can just go ahead and, save $20, $30, $50 each time. Now that adds up. If you're spending an extra $150 for the disc model, but the games only cost, are $30 or $30, let's say you get them half off at like $45. Well, it only takes like 3 or 4 games to make up that loss. And from there, you can have the ability of buying even more games in the future. And it just makes things so much better. And it makes things so much easier, especially if you already have a back catalog of games. So in my opinion, there are so many reasons, even now to this day, to buy a disc model over that digital model. There's still a lot of games available on the digital model, but when I made this comparison 2 years ago, I still said to myself that, I think the digital model is good, but the disc model is going to be the better one, and still we're in that specific situation. So these PlayStation 5s are still being sold all the time in the used market. It looks like they're still being overpriced, which is, kind of annoying, but the availability is there. A lot of people are selling these consoles, meaning that they're still able to get these consoles somehow. So I'd recommend looking into it if you want to buy them. Again, I would recommend going to Sony's website. There's tons of websites that basically tell you exactly where to get these consoles. So get it from there, but that kind of covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.